Hello, welcome to the stream. Who do we have here today? Fletch,
Yo, what's going on, everybody?
Fletch Chu Fong. Courtney.
Hey, everybody.
Hi, Courtney. And Sean.
That's me.
I think Jerry's busy tonight. What's up, chat? Can you guys hear everybody on the Discord? Keeps crashing, so I'm using my phone. I'm wondering if I can create an audio input from my phone into my computer. Because there is an audio input. And then let's see. No, it's the same inputs.
That sounds good.
Okay.
Do you have to update your software, or is it problems with your computer itself?
Well, I think it's I've deducted down to I think my main iMac that I'm running everything off of. You know, it's a 2017, and so the OS is Catalina 10.15.7. So it's kind of old, and because the new one's like 13 point something. So I think the Discord, it keeps, every time I open it, it automatically updates every time. And so I think these new updates kind of, what do they call it? Sunset out the older OS. So it keeps crashing. And until they fix a bug, which they're probably not inclined to because they don't want to, you know, have too many different versions of it out for security purposes, I guess. However you want to make of that. I'm going to have to update my OS at some point. So I updated my OS on my M1 last week, and it was very glitchy. But I didn't update it to the newest one. I updated to like I think 11 or 11 point something. I don't know which one it is. Big Sur. So this one is Catalina, and what's the newest one? Ventura, Ace Ventura, Mac OS Ace Ventura. So 13.7. Yeah. So I mean that's a big jump to go from 10 to 13. I don't know if it'll wreck my computer. Does anybody know in chat?
Nah, you'll be fine. If it takes it. If your system can handle it, it'll be fine.
There's still enough internal memory. I have a 2 terabyte storage in this iMac, and the memory I have, 40 gigabytes of memory. So it's, you know, I usually like to stock up on the memory, and then get the fastest chip that's available, because you know computers outdate themselves fairly quickly. So we'll see, but I'm so busy with work that I just don't really have that much time to tinkle with all this. And anyways, that's my excuse. What's yours?
Go Ventura, man. Alrighty then.
Are you guys on Ventura? Is anybody on Ventura? What is like
I'm on Monterey.
You're on Monterey? That's what, 12?
Right.
12.7.
Sean's like still using that neon blue iMac that's in like a bubble, encased bubble.
No, where does El Capitan fall in that lineup?
Well, just look in the Apple on the upper left-hand corner. What's the OS? Like, is it 09? Operating system 09? Just click that upper left-hand corner and you'll find out.
About this Mac.
Yeah, about this Mac. So, by the way, let's thank the people. Dr. Midnight's first on chat. Make Havoc, subscribe for 52 months. Thank you, Steve. Thanks for your support. Haven't seen Steve around in a while. Steve, I think, is our lone Trump supporter in the chat. Congrats, Steve. James quote, did I just out Steve? Is that gonna be faux pas? I don't know.
No.
I don't know who Steve voted for. James Quo, welcome. Thank you, James Quo, for the stream with Prime. Sub with Prime, 38 months. Holy cow. 52 months. That's a lot. That's a lot of months. So thank you, Steve. And 38, thank you, James Quo. Huh?
Over 4 years.
That's 4 years. He's been here since the beginning. OG, he's a moderator. He has moderator credits. He can ban people. He's kind of like the Dr. Doom on the stream, you know, or I don't want to say Dr. Doom, but like who's like a gray villain. Daniel Ortiz Arts. D. Rogers, thanks for the sub. 51 months. Thank you, D. Rogers. Thank you for this. I didn't get to see D. Rogers the other week. A couple weeks ago, he was in SoCal. All right. Well, I gotta color this cover tonight, so we're gonna do a little digital coloring. Meanwhile,
Wow.
anything?
Let's go back. El Capitan was in 2015.
Well, El Capitan. Oh.
Catalina was 2019.
Okay, so Sean, you gotta. What are you gonna do, Sean? Are you gonna update it or what?
His computer's gonna
Well,
explode.
can
My
Sean's
computer
computer?
is 2009.
Yeah, I don't think Sean's computer can handle it.
2009?
Yeah.
Well, I don't do crazy stuff. I mean, beyond Photoshop, this is probably the hardest thing that my computer has to do is
Well,
is
Photoshop.
watch Twitch.
Yeah, but Photoshop. I mean, just for Photoshop, you should be able to upgrade it, and then. But it's called tax write-off, Sean. End of the year.
It's mostly the trouble of migrating everything over to a new computer. I don't even know how that's done.
It's not that hard.
Yeah, it's not that hard. It's
Yeah.
You guys are aging yourself without by not
And also,
updating your computer.
I don't back up anything either, so that's even crazier.
well, yeah. You should get an external hard drive, and an external drive is only like $100, Sean.
Yeah, but I don't think I have them, but it doesn't. It stopped working, and so it just stopped.
Well, they do die. They die after, you know. I still have one that's still a couple that are working. Some are. I have one that's like this big. They're like pocket size now.
Yeah.
You can get the Samsung TT 1 terabyte or 2 terabytes. I'd get the 2 terabytes. And basically you plug it in, but on your computer you don't have a USB-C. So, but they do have a USB regular to a USB-C, and then basically just download everything onto that, or you can buy a tabletop, another 2 terabyte, probably $100, $150 at Costco, or you know you can go on to you know any site like Best Buy or whatever, or Amazon. I ended up getting one for the little lady in Taiwan at Costco, and it works perfectly fine. So you do have to spend, you know, a little bit of time to kind of transfer everything over, but you know, you can do that and then go for a walk and then come back, and welcome to the 20th century over here now. Because Sean, you're gonna lose all your files
Oh yeah, I know.
unless you put it on the
Anything that's
cloud.
important. Yeah, I mean that's what I've been doing is all the important stuff, but I'll lose like 90% of my stuff, but all the important stuff I put on the cloud. So my backup will be whatever is on Instagram.
It's okay. He'll just lose all the pictures of his children growing up, but that's fine.
They're like as if I have any.
I think as computing has it, like the latest iMac or the latest Mac Mini, I think only has like 500 and something, 500 something storage drive, and you can't upgrade those. Um, and I think I'm suspecting that the trend is that they're going to force people to go on iCloud as opposed to physical hard drives. And that way, if you go iCloud, and the more you have, the more you have to subscribe for more storage, right? So it's another revenue generator, right? Makes sense. I don't know. What do you think? Anybody in chat have disagreements? Is Yojimbo here? He's usually our guy with the
Our tech guy too.
yeah, Yojimbo. Sean should get a PC. Well, I guess. I mean, is there a huge difference between the PC and a Mac these days? I've only used Macs, but two backups.
I know that Macs are better for artists than PCs, but I don't know if that gap has shrunk recently.
The what?
I don't know if that gap has shrunk recently. That traditionally it's always been MacBooks, and Macs are always been better for artists.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I still stay with Macs, even though there was a time where, believe it or not, like Mac almost went out of business. Back in the mid to late '90s, Mac almost went out of business. There's talk about them folding, but with the new that Blue Dome iMac and more consumer-friendly versions of the Apple Macintosh, they came roaring back, and then the iPhone and iPods, and that was it. No looking back. So,
I stick to Mac because it has better virus protection.
I think, yeah, that's the other thing too. Is that true? That has better virus protection? I mean, I think
when I had a PC, I used to have to get a new PC like every 2 years because you just destroy it.
Oh, really?
I couldn't get it fixed.
The other reason I think is Sean doesn't want to use a camera. If he gets a new Mac, he'll be able to use a camera, and then no excuse to not draw on stream.
He could use his phone to do that.
Dr. Midnight has a question. I had a question about Gaijin Studios.
Okay, what's the question?
Was Gaijin Studios a place to teach artists new skills or hone their skills, and how did the studios push artists to get better?
I don't think
it wasn't really a school or anything.
Yeah, Gaijin Studios was like Adam Hughes, Dave Johnson, Coley Hamner, and they were based in Atlanta. It was a group of professional comic book artists that lived in the Atlanta area. And who else are we forgetting from there? Was Panosian? No, Panosian was not part of that.
No. Who was that one, big guy?
Terry Dodson?
There was Carl Story. There was Brian Snellfreeze.
Oh, Brian Snellfreeze, right.
They think Tony Harris might have been part of it.
Tony Harris, yes, yeah.
Pencilers, color artist, Andrew Robinson, a number of big names just in that Atlanta area. It was an art studio, a collection of artists.
Yeah, so I think they happened to just get rent a studio space and decided to all work, under the same roof.
Yeah.
So there were.
Go ahead. Support each other too. If there's any tips that artists help each other with, and it was a good collaborative effort on their part.
Yeah, I think if somebody's behind on a deadline, another person might help in and jump in, which I would need right now. But
well, not even that, but if they have a problem, like we talk about every week, on this podcast, how would you approach this?
Right.
This angle or whatever. Help each other.
And they were competitive with each other too. So.
Yeah, so I don't think there really was any kind of a studio set up to help train or mentor. Oh, Dexter Vines, I think, was also part of,
Right.
right, the inker. So, um, but I don't think they're around anymore. Although they didn't, did they ever officially disband? Like, the Boulevard was Sean, John Paul Leon, Tommy Lee Edwards, and Trevor Goring, and we were kind of like a studio, but studio only in the sense of like when we would attend comic book conventions together. How would you call us, Sean? What would you?
Yeah, I don't know what legal terms you would need. We were never in a brick and mortar studio. It's just basically like a group of guys, and then you can kind of be snobby and keep people out.
A collective.
The space, yeah,
Well, did anybody want to join us? I don't think anybody wanted to join
no.
us.
But definitely, for if like I was a lesser known artist back then, and I think those are bigger names, and it helped lift me up for sure.
Yeah, there's studios around the country. I mean, I think right now one of the bigger ones in North America is Raid, right? Raid Studios. I mean,
So Raid is who? Is Francis Manipul?
he used to be part of Raid, but yeah, like he was originally part of it. Marcus Toe. There was a bunch of other names too. I'm escaping my memory right now, but Ramon Perez, a number of different cover artists too. Nimit, Nimit, I forget his last name, but he was part of it as well early on. It's a nice studio up there.
Who is so where is Francis now?
He's on his own. You know, he wanted his family and everything. So
Because he had a couple videos on his YouTube where he goes into a studio with a bunch of other guys. That was Raid. Was that Raid?
I think that was Raid. Yeah.
Okay. And what does Raid stand for? Like they just have a lot of cockroaches or pests?
I don't remember.
Okay.
Raid.
Sean, do you remember when we were coming up with studio names? What were some of the other names that were thrown out there?
I think it was always you and Tommy decided that, so I don't think there was any discussion.
I remember there was some back and forth.
Yeah, I wasn't part of that though.
No?
I think it probably took place at a convention, and I wasn't at that convention.
Maybe. Because, I mean, the reason we went with Boulevard was because we were thinking that the initial intent was that, you know, artists are the backbone of the comic book industry. Yet we get thrown into an alley, artist alley. And so, you know, we should command a little bit more respect. And so we thought, well, what's instead of an alley, you know, what do we go with, an avenue or a boulevard, or and boulevard had a BLVD kind of like shortened, which at the time was kind of, we thought was kind of cool. Maybe I just thought it was cool. I don't know. If you started a studio today, Sean, what would you call it?
Oh, I don't know. I never really gave it any thought. But in most studios, you probably have to pay some sort of fee, right? Some sort of like pay for the rent or something like that.
Well, yeah, I think definitely there's rent because you know, you shared space, so you got to get like a
Xerox machine.
well, you got to get some equipment. You got to get furniture. I know they tried to do. Dave Johnson tried to do one out here in L.A. And he shared a space for a little while with some guys in downtown here with Panosian, right?
Yeah. I call other people as well.
Yeah, but we talk. You know, they're kind of throwing it out there, but you know, I have my own space at home. Why would I? I mean, I got my own apartment with a loft for the specific purpose to have a separate room to work in. And then it
It depends on where you are in your career too. If you want to have, you know, work in an environment where other people, you social other people's, advice or something like that, or you want to be a mentor to. It's all different levels of how you want to spread your skill and art.
Right.
Yeah, John Hartz used to say that all the time that he's been watching artists draw and throughout his career, that they developed when they were in a studio situation, and then they stopped developing when they left the studio. That was his observation.
There is John Hartz was the marketing director at Valiant when we first started. He was a marketing genius, responsible for a lot of the trends of getting Valiant into comic book stores and blowing up the popularity of Valiant Comics. And I certainly learned a few tricks from him, which I've yet to employ.
Have you noticed that at one point he came into the office and he had no more fight in him, and then he just became he was just kind of like twiddle his thumbs in the office.
Well, I think at that point, I mean, their goal was to eventually sell the company, right? So, and they had at one point already reached, they couldn't max out anymore. The industry was on a decline, and I think there was really nothing else for him to do in terms of the books and sales. It's just a gradual decline. He explained to me, we would go over, I would sit in on the marketing meetings when I would go to Valiant, and I would, they go over the numbers of the print runs and what they're projecting certain books to be, and tracking them, and he had a particular method to the madness. So I just think at some point the books themselves, the industry had experienced a tremendous boom, at which point I think the initiative was to sell the company. And so once that came through, he cashed out, and that was it. So I don't know. You don't like, you have any ill will towards John Hartz, Sean?
No, not at all. I didn't really know. I know for some reason there was some kind of controversy. I have no idea what that's about. But yeah, he was a guy that he would fight the good fight, like against impossible odds. He determined that in order to survive, we have to change reader behavior, and he worked hard to change it. And then at some point, he just stopped trying, and I think he kind of gave up and kind of resigned, just because I think it was too big of a problem. He just didn't have any fight left in him.
I think there's the comic book industry in itself. There is this, what Sean mentioned in terms of reader habits and retailer habits. It is you want to be innovative, and I do think they did introduce a lot of innovative products. I think that the industry at the time, they did a lot of variant covers or gimmick covers, or the gold cover program was, I think, extremely successful for a small company to win the favor of your local comic book store, a small kind of upstart company. And but also, at some point, Sean, do you have any, Fletch, you guys have any notes on the on Valiant's?
Well, we're going to face some headwinds pretty soon if these tariffs get enacted. How do we survive tariffs when it comes to making comics?
Well, how would the tariffs? This is a good discussion. how would the Trump tariffs affect the comic book market? Does anybody know? Does anybody have any suggestions? I mean, I'd point this to Steve if he's still here. But
Paper or printing?
well, printing is most of
Ink?
Marvel and DC are printed in Canada and the U.S. Right?
Oh, is that? I thought it was off. They're not in China at all.
There's some in China on the collection or hardcovers and such.
Yeah, but not the monthlies. The monthlies are Quebecor in Canada, Montreal, and I think there's another printer in the U.S. in Louisiana, if I'm correct or
Is
not.
it Ronald's? Ronald's?
Something like that. Yeah, but the monthlies are not printed in China. The trades are, and then I think a lot of the independents are printed in China. So there could be
Kickstarter, basically.
So a lot of Kickstarters, a lot of I know when we did the Boulevard books, I think volume 3 and 4 were printed in China. So, but again, the monthly books for Marvel and DC are still North America. So the indie market. Well, what else? How else? The question too is like where the tariffs is only on goods, right? Now you have a tremendous amount of. I would estimate 3/5, if not 2/3 of the creative community, in terms of art creative community, in mainstream comics are foreigners, non-American citizens. So would the tariffs affect that aspect of, or is it tariffs only on products?
Well, even if you print here in the U.S., I don't know how much paper is made here. Ink is most likely not made here, and those are quite expensive already. So even if it was, everything's probably going to go up, even if it's kind of quote unquote made in the U.S., because not everything, basically everything we touch is not made in the U.S. alone. So
yeah, everybody's gonna feel it in their pocketbooks eventually. Once it comes, trickling down to the consumer.
Yeah.
It will affect the corporations who are buying the product from overseas, which will affect the final price of the goods that need it, whether it's paper, whether it's supplies or ink, and that will drive prices up. So eventually, we'll feel. I was talking to a potential client today, and they were wondering about for international or shows in general, the price of steel could go up because a lot of that's imported, from foreign countries. That's going to drive up. So,
are mobile plans international from international companies? Looks like
I think Fletch should get on a new one before the tariffs hit.
Fletch.
That might be a good
I think
idea.
Cricket is Mint Mobile is a U.S. company, so you might want to jump on that. Fletch, why don't you get Starlink?
Are we breaking up?
What does chat think about the impending tariffs? Here's the other thing is, I was watching a program about, very similar, this very topic, and they say that this last year, or the last 2 years, Mexico has surpassed China as the main importer to the U.S. 475 billion to 435 something, 37 billion, or 27. Now the thing is, some of that 420, whatever number I said before, from Mexico, is also Chinese companies from China setting up factories in Mexico to circumvent the tariffs that were imposed during the first Trump administration. So, they would, and there has to be there's a particular method of weighing whether a product has been, I forgot what the term was, but manipulated to a particular degree. So if you have like a piece, this was the exact example, is that if you have a piece of wood exported from China that goes into Mexico, but in Mexico they take that piece of wood and they transform it into a table and then they import that into the U.S., that's enough of a transformation. So it's the goods that are being, the base goods that are being imported and then
well, I mean, I guess the whole point is to try to keep a lot of the work and to be manufactured in the States. So if that's the goal, does it become more difficult to hire those Italian artists and one from,
well, that's my question is like, does the tariffs or any kind of that affect talent, right? Even visas or work visas, or I don't know how the companies. I mean, that's actually a good question. Is like, how do the companies right now go about, hiring foreign creatives?
Yeah, I don't think the tariffs affects that, and it doesn't affect that the hiring of foreign people to work on the project. It affects physical goods and the services. The physical goods that are being imported, there's going to be not the tariff on it.
Right.
I don't think it's the work that someone does, freelance work.
Well, and when we talk about work, like, okay, they're going to deport all the
migrants.
The migrants. As the term no longer, they don't say illegal immigrants anymore? Is that no longer used? Anyways. So, but, and then the fear is that in the process of deporting what they might suspect as illegal immigrants, they might get a couple that are legal. But then you get guys, okay, so for like a comic book convention where an international artist is coming here and they're selling artwork or they're selling commissions.
That's a whole separate, department of managing visas and all that stuff. The transportation, Department of Transportation, or Department of something, that handles relation with other countries and requiring visas, visa access, sales access, temporary sales, stuff like that. That's nothing. I don't think that has anything to do with tariff.
Well, I mean, I don't think it has anything to do with tariffs, but it might have something to do with a reinvigorated immigration system.
Yeah.
Right? So there's that. I'm curious to see how that might affect, if it'll affect at all, comic book conventions. So if your favorite artist is, let's say, Italian, and he's here at a convention, are you going to find some of them being stopped at the airport and then sent back?
No, because it's not an illegal. It's not a migrant status. They're coming in here with proper documents, passports, and stuff.
Well, a few years ago, I believe this was pre-pandemic. I remember there was a story of some artists from Canada coming down to the U.S. for a smaller show, and then
it was an artist from South Africa that went through Canada.
Okay.
They didn't have the right paperwork. That's why he was sent back.
Okay.
I remember. Yeah.
And is it also that sometimes these artists that are coming through, and they're saying that they're coming to the U.S. for vacation, not necessarily claiming that they're here for work. And I don't know if it's the same story, but I remember they got stopped because the border people saw goods,
Right.
and then they're like, "What are you doing with these things?" And they happened to say, "Oh, we're going to sell them at a convention," and that's when they got flagged.
Yeah, exactly. You can't, they ask you straight up, if you're coming in as a guest, and you declared that you're not selling anything or anything like that, and then they do, and you lied on your, reason for your,
Right.
you don't have every
That's every country, though.
It is it is every country.
Any country.
Yeah.
It is every country, but it is also curious to see, and it's also every state. Every state has its own kind of merchant rules. Case in point, like if you're an NBA basketball player, but your team you're based in Miami, which has no state income tax. But if you play a game in New York, which you have to because of the New York Knicks or the Brooklyn Nets, when you play those games, you have to prorate a portion of your salary and pay New York State tax for working in New York State because you're technically making money in the state of New York. So those are all interesting issues.
Yeah.
Yojimbo says the wood in Mexico is the same shell game all companies play. It's all by design. They all do it, and the governments play along as long as the politicians get paid. Work visas are abused. They pay them less. And a couple big companies also get most of the allocations. They need to stop using a word sandwich to make it seem less of an issue. How long before they deem migrant, undocumented, unhoused as a slur? It doesn't change the situation. President. Okay. Kevin P. West, welcome to the stream. Carson McKinney, senior year. Carson, how did the convention go at SCAD a couple weeks ago?
Hey guys, I gotta jump out. But just everybody, good to see everybody. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. I'm not sure if next week, but if I don't see you guys, have a good holiday. All right.
All right. Take care.
Happy holidays, guys.
Happy holidays. Thanks for jumping on, Fletch. So I guess the other question too is like, okay, what are goods? Technical goods. So the example of the wood turning into the table. The wood.
Raw material.
Right. Okay, but so now if you take it into comics, what is the raw material versus the finished product? The raw material is the artwork written or drawn, but it's drawn overseas. Am I getting too technical? Or is there an application that is, or is there something to be considered?
Yeah, that is. I mean, if the whole point is to keep work within the United States, then this is exactly something that they would be trying to discourage, is hiring artists from Europe or whatever, and then that's. I can't imagine that happens, but if it does, that's kind of big. That's huge, right?
Well, are there enough American artists around?
Well, I'm sure there's enough. I don't know if they're that good, but
would they? Yeah. So would there be a drop off in the quality? Is there pay? Would the books go up in price because of pay that has to go up, or
I think the companies do have to make a case where they have to justify that they can't find the talent locally, so they must go overseas to get the talent.
Does this mean that 2025, 2026, Sean Chan's going to be drawing a monthly comic book?
Yes. There's not enough people, so I got to step up.
Possibly, right?
Yeah, everyone in chat, you all have jobs now.
I don't think you can tariff services, says D. Rogers. Okay, well, but see, the service is the creation of the art, but the art is the product, right? And then the art gets published. So, I mean, again, this is getting into really technical kind of legalese, and until it actually happens, if it does happen, which again, the threat of a tariff could also be a negotiating factor, and a negotiating issue. But anyways, Carson McKinney went really well, sold a few print stickers, did some sketch card commissions. That's great. How many people were at the SCAD convention, and was it only SCAD students, or were there like local artists or publishers and stuff? Carson attended, I think it was 2 weeks ago, when I was in North Carolina. Carson was at a convention in Georgia for SCAD. Interesting. And then I guess books. Would that affect also? Would it affect manga? Here's the other thing, right? Manga, which has been creating quite a storm in terms of readership of comic books in the U.S., is a mostly foreign product. Printed overseas, I'm assuming, shipped here. Although there are companies that are based here that are maybe licensing, or I think they're licensing them.
Yeah, licensing.
It's still gonna come over, but it's gonna be $50 for a comic.
So does that then shift it back to like, oh well, a superhero comic's only $5, which is still tremendously. I mean, I don't know what the the dollar was worth back in 1987. When I started heavily collecting comics in 1984, 85, 83, 84, 85. It was 60 cents when I started. Within a year or two, it went up to 65 cents. And then from 65 cents, it went up to 75 cents. And I was like, wow, 75 cents. That meant like one less book I could get. I used to be able to get like 20-something books a month. I had like $20, 20 bucks allowance a month. I could go get like 20 some odd, 25 some odd books. Then I had to, when it went up to 75 cents, I had to be like, oh shit, I got to cut out like 1 or 2 books. And then when we were at Valiant, what was the cover price? What was the cover price, Sean? $1.25?
Was it? I don't know.
$2?
What is it now, though? I haven't bought. Is it like close to $5?
Now it's about $3.99 for some DC books. Marvel books around $4.99.
Holy cow!
Some special books are a little bit more, around $8.
Wait till tariffs come.
The trade paperbacks, again, I don't think it'll affect. Again, the books are printed in Canada mainly, Canada, Brazil, and the U.S. Indie books will be more expensive. So then when you're paying $20 for a 20, 30 page indie comic, you're really paying for the tariff, and that's less to the creatives unless the price goes up, right? So what would be a $25 Kickstarter book now is probably going to be a $40, $50 Kickstarter book. What was a $40, $50 Kickstarter book is probably going to be $75, right? You gotta think. The art is delivered physically. You need a port or some inbound location where the goods can be held until fees are paid. So yeah, so I think that is a gray area, D. Rogers. It is, the art is a digital file, right? I wonder also if that will affect original art sales, because original art is then an actual piece. But again, I mean, that's such a niche market. Interesting times we live in.
Well, there will be. The idea is that a lot of people work for corporations. They're going to be very, very rich. So comic sales are going to maybe hurt, but then the high-end collector stuff, original art and stuff like that, those probably go up. And the $25 books will probably sell better than the $25 books do now, because right now we're in a down economy. I'm surprised anyone's buying any comics at all. But
Well, do you think we're in a down economy? Like, because
inflation in general.
I mean, but is inflation considered part of a down economy? I'm not a economic expert. Like, when I hear down economy, like, we still live in the richest country in the world. We still live in the best economy in the world. So if we're in a down economy, then what about the rest of the world?
Yeah, I think there's just a perception of it.
So,
I think,
you know,
it's just that.
I do feel it. Like, inflation has in the last 2 years gone through the roof. Although I do feel that inflation has slowed down in the last half year, since the summer. That these are the prices that we're going to have to live with, that they're not increasing at an incremental rate. Although, like, right now, like, shit, before the end of the year, I got to get a new tooth in. They already put the screw in, right? And that was like 2,000 something. Now I just went to see the dentist.
1,000. Holy cow.
No, well, guess how much the crown that they're going to put on the implant. The implant is the screw that goes into the bone, and then now they're going to put a fake tooth on top of that, right, to screw it to the screw, connected to the screw. How much do you think that crown costs, Sean? Take a guess. It's one tooth.
I mean, it's probably in the thousands, because I've had that done before.
Oh, you did? How much did you pay?
Well, health insurance paid for a lot, but it was like a 1,700, something like that.
That you had to pay? That you had to pay, or that was
No.
the whole procedure? This one's going to cost me $2,400.
Bernard, go down to Mexico.
$2,400
If you don't have dental insurance, you might as well.
I heard that.
take a drive
I
to
saw that. A lot
Mexico.
of people go down to Mexico, to Tijuana, right?
Yeah.
And
Oh my God! Really?
and it's like a quarter of the price down there.
I knew a dentist in TJ who also was a dentist in San Diego, and he did both. He had both practices.
Yeah,
in
and
those places.
and they're pretty modern down there. It's not like because you hear Mexico, you think like, oh, it's going to be like they're going to give you a shot of tequila as a number.
They just pour tequila all over it.
Yeah, no, I mean, the facilities of the YouTube videos that I've seen are pretty, they're very modern. They're as if you were in the U.S. And they all, speak English because they tailor towards American customers who come down to TJ to get anything from a tooth, dental cleaning to plastic surgery. So, anyways, so the tooth, $2,400, and then I had the cleaning and the consultation. So I bought a plan for $550 for 2 cleanings a year, plus X-rays, plus dental consultation, and it would give me 15% off the $2,400. So that $2,400 becomes like $2,000 something, $2,050. So altogether, I'm looking at $2,600 for the crown, or whatever the implant, tooth, plus 2 cleanings, plus X-rays for 1 year, right? If I had dental insurance, the dental insurance, I looked it up like a couple years ago. You have to have dental insurance for 1 year, basically paid for 1 year before they'll even like do any of this stuff, any kind of like extracurricular outside of cleaning.
We got a raid, by the way.
Oh, raid. Woltering, thank you for the raid. Woltering, Party of 21. Thank you for the raid. We're actually drawing a cover here. I got to color it tonight. So I'm just cleaning up the line artwork, and we're talking about tariffs and how it would affect the comic book industry. Really interesting stuff if you're not a kid, Show me R22. Woltering, thank you. Halcyon Fury. Geo19, good to see you. Oh, Blues Boy is here. Kevin P. West is here. It's what happened to Sam Laporta this year, Kevin. Slink Meister, welcome to the stream. Make sure you hit that. If you're on Twitch, hit that. What is it? Sub button on the bottom. We stream every Tuesday night at this time. Usually I'll draw something on paper, but today we're doing the iPads.
Did you say what this cover was for, or you can't say?
I cannot say what this cover is for, but this is for a Marvel or DC comic. But I mean, if you look at it, if you look at the characters, I think you can kind of tell who the characters are, right? Yes.
Yes.
But it's a
Tony the Tiger.
It's a variant cover. It's for Tony the Tiger. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Although he's gonna be green, so I gotta color this. So right now I drew it traditionally on a piece of paper. Let me go grab that.
It's a nice tiger paw.
Mm-hmm.
With those, what do you call them? The jelly beans on the bottom?
Yeah, the pads.
Toe beans. Yeah.
I bet those are tasty because they're probably like jelly. So I drew this traditionally on a piece of paper, Bristol. Right, I do the Sean Shan method of doing the rough pencils on the back, then light box on the front. So I do all the figure work. And then I ink right on the front. On the other side, flip over. You'll notice some of these areas I didn't ink yet because I was trying to get this done so I can prep it for the stream. And then they're since filled in. See the comparison side by side. Seporos. Do you guys read comics? Marvel and DC? Yojimbo's got it. Cyborg from the Justice League, so it's the Titans. Anyways, the boss said we could do this stuff on stream, right?
Oh, okay.
Didn't he say he said that a few years ago, right? As long as it's not giving away any kind of spoilers. I don't know.
It's always do first, then ask for forgiveness later.
Is Poop Kid here? They had
he hasn't been responding to my text.
He hasn't been responding to your text? Maybe he's overseas. They had did you see that they unveiled a Green Lantern statue in Burbank?
Oh, yeah.
Last week? I was supposed to be at that unveiling, but I was in New York. So I was thinking about going. They didn't have any artists there. I didn't see any artists. It would have been nice because I, drew Green Lantern Corps for like 2.5 years. It was a very stressful time, to say the least.
Well, what's the purpose of the orange background?
It's just a template. This is a template right now. I don't really have a purpose right now. It's better than white because that way, as I'm cleaning up the line art, it's easier for me to see what areas I need to erase or add white.
I go with like a kind of light, bright blue.
Yeah.
But I think that would hurt my eyes to look at it like a bright orange.
Or it just stands out a little bit more. So.
Did you get this cover because of the basketball theme? They're like, oh, Bernard plays basketball. He can do a good job on it.
I think so, yeah.
And then, so you like drawing this stuff, but like, I guess it's not so difficult in most aspects, but then when you see the bottom of that shoe, and then you gotta draw those little, like, if you're not into basketball, if you're not into shoes, that is a pure pain in the ass. So I guess what gets you through it is that you like that shit, right?
Yeah, this stuff is pretty cool. Like this stuff down here. These are actual sneakers. So
in comics, like you just put like a hatching, like horizontal lines across the bottom, and then say call it a shoe.
right. I mean, but you know, like if you were drawing a car or a motorcycle, and you're really into that, you would, you know, add those details in, right? But I mean, this is a basketball specific cover. So you know what? I mean, basketball sneakers is a very, very integral part of the theme of this cover. So I gotta stay true. And
Those are also highly unusual treads there.
yeah, well,
Do those actually exist?
the actual treads are X's, but I didn't even go with the X's. So you want me to go and add the X's in, Sean? Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
F you, Sean.
Well, that kind of goes with the tigerness, what you got there.
Yeah. So you have to reference, kids. Don't be, you know, don't just try to make it up out of your head. You could, but if you're going to design it, spend some time designing it. But I mean, Sean, if you were to draw a motorcycle, you'd want to draw one that was an actual motorcycle, right? You wouldn't just want to put two wheels in. Yeah, because you're into
Treads
motorcycles.
involved, yeah. So yeah, I mean, you can get into it. So I guess what gets you through this is that you like that because you can handle the treads with the bottom of the shoe in any different way because it's not a huge important part of the cover. So a lot of times people just do the waffle grid, you know, or like the checkerboard.
Yeah, and no sneakers has that anymore. Only like Vans.
Like Chuck Converse.
Yeah, or Converse. So, you know, no basketball sneakers. They all have different kind of tread because it affects the performance of the shoe. Whether you're able to cut, you have good grip on the court, and also the pattern. There's a sneaker out right now that actually has the player's face on the outsole.
Damn.
The Dwayne Wade, it actually looks pretty cool too. It's like a graphic. Yeah, I should take a break and pull it up.
But that just says that the tread can be anything though, because they make it his face.
Well, as long as there's grooves, and the grooves will then, you know, create the friction that that stops. Just just some dude. This is a cover. Just some dude. These are brand black sneakers. So this one is the latest version of the sneaker color that I had a collaboration with a couple years ago, and then this one right here is the sneaker that I
Oh, this is the same sneaker that you drew before, and the last time you drew it, you actually drew every single X on there.
Yeah, that was a pain in the ass.
Yeah, I mean, no matter how much you like that shoe, that's more than most people can take.
That was I was going crazy. I don't remember if I drew that. I don't remember if I drew that on a piece. I drew that on a piece of paper, actually. Yeah, and then I digitally colored it. But let me pull that one up. That one was a pain in the fucking ass.
You know, I think when things are a little too detailed, like if you show every detail, it actually draws your eye to it a little too much.
It could be.
I think that drawing was about the shoe, right?
Yeah,
you did that.
yeah. That one was about the shoe. That was 2021. In the middle of the pandemic. And I scrolled down on Instagram for a while.
Did you ever think of just inking up the bottom of that shoe and then pressing it on paper and then creating a texture pattern? It probably wouldn't work, but that's the thing. It's a cool idea.
Yeah, I don't think that would work. I mean, the cheat, if there is a cheat, would be to take a picture of it and then put a filter on the picture.
Oh, yeah.
Right? But to take a picture of it at the right angle. So you would have to have the shoe, which I do. But where's the skill in that? Where's the challenge in that?
Sean, what shoes do you wear? Crocs? Are you a croc guy?
Sean goes barefoot. What are you talking about?
Go barefoot?
He's an animal.
I actually, I don't really spend that much money on clothes. I wear mostly tatters, but I do spend money on shoes because I run like 3 miles every other day, and I go through them like maybe 3 pairs a year.
What shoes? Like New Balances or?
They're ASIC. Oh, they're New Balance actually, and they're like a couple $100. But if I don't, my knees will last longer if I have more expensive shoes.
Do you ever go on sneaker sites, or you just buy them in the store at retail?
No, I buy them from Dick's Sporting Goods, or I buy them like online.
Okay. Because you can go on like StockX. Your son should know about StockX.
Oh, I'm sure he does.
Well, you can go on StockX, and you can probably find some sneakers for, like I get my Ultra Boost, Adidas Ultra Boost. They're normally $180 to $200. I get them for like $80 on StockX because these sneaker resellers, they're banking on particular colorways of a sneaker, getting popular or getting hot, and then so they buy a shit ton, and then that colorway they gambled on doesn't do well, so now they're left with all this dead stock that they got to get rid of, so they sell it for a cheap price. And I'm like, I'm there. I don't care about the color,
Sean, do you want a pair of Spider-Man shoes?
Ladies, are they ladies Spider-Man shoes?
No, I think it's one of the last drops. Actually, I don't even know if it's one of the last ones, but I think I ended up getting them for my boyfriend, and he was gonna flip them.
Oh.
And I don't think I don't remember if they sold, and he might still have them. I think they're men's sizes too. I should check.
What size?
I think they're either 9s or 10s.
Oh, okay.
Or somewhere between there.
Here's the
I
sneaker
don't even
drawing.
know what they look like.
Here's the sneaker drawing. It's online. Yeah, this was 2021. So all those X's underneath the shoe. You can kind of see it.
Yeah,
If
we're in
you're
a
able to
delay.
see
I
it.
don't see anything, but
Yeah.
I remember it though. Are you getting PTSD?
Oh, God.
Oh my God! Look at that.
Well, it was definitely all about the shoes, so I get that.
Oh my God!
Yes. It must be like 1,000 X's. And it has to, it's in perspective, right? Because the bottom of the sneaker is curved. So I have to do a good job. Because if I just draw an X and then copy paste and put it on there, and the sneaker looks like crap, then it doesn't help the selling of the sneaker.
Bernard, at that point, it basically looks like you took a picture of the sneaker and then you just took it to Photoshop because it's so extremely detailed. Here's what it kind of
Here's the
looked like.
detail of the X. Yeah, here's the detail of the X so you guys can see it. I might have drawn this digitally. I don't remember. I think I for some reason I drew the base.
I remember. You blocked that. You do a little bit on stream.
Oh yeah? Was it digitally or on paper?
I don't remember, but I remember you.
You guys both have bad memories.
We're getting
You
old.
were doing the X's.
Well, here's the 3D. So there was a. Oh, I did draw digitally. So I did the base drawing in pencil, and then I scanned it in, and then I kind of drew it digitally. So this is a sped up process piece coming up. Yeah, I still like those sneakers.
I wish you made them in my size.
Yeah.
I couldn't even get them.
No, making sneakers, the outsole, the midsole, is the most expensive piece. The tread on the outside. That's I think like $15,000 a pair, a size. And if you go like so, if you have a size 9, and then so I think it's 1 foot for 15,000. So 2 feet for both feet is like 30 or 20 something. So let's say 30, and then you do size 9. You got to do another one for 9.5, then another one for 10, 10.5.
Wow.
So some boutique shoe companies, when it gets to 13, 14, 12, 13, 14, they don't do half sizes. They only do a full size. Whereas like Nikes, because they got the money, and that's why that's why the retros are so popular, is that the outsole mold, the steel mold, is already made. So they're just printing money whenever they make the retros. Anyways. Yeah, the X's were. Although the one complaint I would have about this shoe is that the outsole was innovative in that they glued it on around. It was a wrap around the midsole, but the glue, in particular situations, after a period of time, kind of came apart. So these flaps, there would be flaps, but you can re-glue it, which I did.
That's common in women's shoes, actually.
Yeah. The glue is.
I get shoes that fall apart, and I just had to get some shoe glue and.
Yeah, if you use it, if you wear it a lot, if it's humid, I think it can all, especially heat. I think the heat compromises the.
They were dancing shoes.
Oh, okay. All right.
Destroyed those.
These are all sold out. Anyways. All right, let's. So I'm gonna go into the flats. So I've kind of cleaned up the line art now. The average annual salary for a shoe designer in California is $44,900, with a range of $29 to $71. The average annual salary for a footwear designer in Los Angeles is $116, with a range of $90 to $189.
Not bad.
Google says Nike pays their shoe designers $46,000 to $76,000 a year. My cousin works with leather in South Korea. He can make shoes. I also follow this guy on Instagram that takes apart leather purses and shoes and then puts them together. He's pretty interesting.
Oh, is he that foreign dude?
Huh? He's like a European dude, Eastern European dude.
Yeah, and he's like, "Is this worth it?"
Yeah. I like that guy.
I like him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He takes mainly
He's
purses
super
apart.
famous now.
Is he? Yeah. He mainly takes purses apart and then he'll do a little acid on the leather to show the quality and break it down. Oh, this is this particular kind of cow, or this is this particular part of the cow skin. So.
Well, is there anything that justifies a $14,000 price tag?
Well, mostly you're paying for the brand, right? In that case, I think you're paying for the brand. So what I do here, I like to label my layers. So this is my line art layer. And in Procreate, you can change it. So what Courtney wants to change it to a blue. We'll change it to blue. Maybe this is a little bit less.
Less Halloween.
Less Halloween, less in your face. So I got Cyborg. Is on the same team as who's this guy? Hawkeye? I don't know. Not Hawkeye, but I don't know. Orange Arrow. I don't know this guy. I don't know the Titans. And Starfire, and then Princess Troy, Deanna Troy, Nightwing, and Beast Boy are on the same team, and then Raven is the referee. And I got to put a floor underneath. So right now I'm just going to I'm going to create a new layer. I'm going to clip mask the layer so it conforms to the layer below, right? So again, this is, you can see the line art layer is its own. I've deleted the background. So now if I go in color, right now I'm just going to run a flat color. So the flats are going to be what's blue is blue, red is red. I'm not going to do any shadows. I'm just going to, and I'm going to set the layer to maximum, multiply. multiply. It's on top of the line art. So multiply, what that does is that eliminates white or blends the white to whatever layers are below it, and blends the darker colors in, mixes the darker color. You'll see that later if I'm adding a shadow layer or rendering. I'll do the shadows with a multiply, and screen is the opposite of multiply. So screen, whatever is lighter will show up, and whatever is darker will fade away. And screen I'll use as highlights. So here I'm on a separate layer. We'll call that flats. Now you can do it one or two other ways. Initially I learned with the line art layer on top and then having all the stuff going underneath. But in the last few years I've been doing the line art layer on the bottom and the flats and other rendering layers on top. So it's like, if you think about it, like a layering of, if we have different layers, you know, let's say this is the line art, and then you can do a coloring, you can do another shadow on top, and other kind of layers on top of that. That make any sense? Any questions? Good. Okay. So what's blue is blue, red is red. At this point, I'm not looking to render yet. Now, typically, you can get a job as a flatter. Ace is helping me flat some pages. I also have a colorist in Brazil. And notice also I'm doing the clipping so that see how I'm like my pen is going outside of the leg, but I'm only coloring in the leg, right? So that's the clipping mask. If I didn't have the clipping mask, you can see all the strokes outside of it, because I'm conforming whatever is in this particular layer that I've called the flats to the layer below it, which is the line art layer. And the line art layer is the black and white. It's not usually, if I were to draw this in Procreate, I would have to create another layer with white on top of the black, because the black, it's only black, there's no white. Does that make any sense?
Wait, you are doing it on Procreate, aren't you?
I drew this on paper, and then I scanned it in, and then actually in Photoshop I pre-prepped it. Where I Photoshop, I used the magic wand and I selected areas and I basically deleted all the negative space. So it's a little bit of pre-prep work.
Wait, so you did it in pencils outside and then you took it to...
Pencils and inks.
Or did you also ink?
Pencils and inks, look. This was the pencils and inks right here.
Now you have an original cell too. Yeah,
so now there's an original to sell. So... this one is probably market up to $1,500, which is kind of on the lower end in terms of coverage.
That's pretty low for a cover.
Yeah. So
Bernard, you have to raise your prices.
Okay, maybe like $2,500 then. We'll see.
Tariffs are coming.
$2,500. There we go. What color should his sneakers? Okay, chat can participate. What color should Cyborg's sneakers be? You guys get to collaborate on the colorway. Throw out some colors in chat, and then we'll pick. Which
turquoise and purple.
Turquoise and purple.
So, how did you know where the floor plane is? You kind of just drew them all floating, and you'll strip in the floor later.
Yeah, so I did in the pencil. And in the rough layout too. In the pencil, you can kind of see that I have the key, the basketball key underneath, right? Also added with the perspective of the rim. I kind of understood where everything's going to be. Let me show you guys the...
This is the subject you draw the most, it seems. It's like
this is the rough layout. Yeah.
Bernard, you should just draw a basketball comic book.
Oh yeah, I was going to tell you, Bernard. If you ever read Do a Powerbomb by Daniel Warren Johnson, he wrote and drew it. The guy loves wrestling, so he made this graphic novel about, it's a tall tale that has to do with wrestling as a theme, just the way you like basketball. He likes wrestling, so he created a story and characters. And then he put out this graphic novel, and he won a freaking Eisner, and then this is going into its like 50th printing. And it's just phenomenally successful. But I think you should give it a read, because I think eventually you're going to be doing a basketball comic, and it just has one success story where that same idea worked for him, and you see what type of story he wrote.
Yeah, no, I have that. I have that Showtime story. I still have to.
Yeah, it's similar in a way, but you see like how to take wrestling and bring it into the comic book world. So it's like, at some point, I don't know, I can't give any spoilers, but he's like wrestling these deities and demigods and stuff like that. But it's a good way to bring a sport into a comic book world and make some fantastical story out of it. And it was like really successful.
Especially since you know sports. I think a lot of people are like, well, baseball's popular this year, so we'll include baseball. Or it becomes more of a fad that whatever kind of gets roped in. But you know sports, you know basketball, so.
Yep.
Do it, Bernard. Do it.
Well,
you'll make more money.
It will be done. It will be done. It will be done. I think next 2025. Look for it. After
really?
I finish the Power Man miniseries.
And then you're off into the world of creator owned.
Well, we'll see. Half and half, maybe. But anybody familiar with Beast Boy? Is he just all of his creatures are just green, right?
Green.
Yeah, so that makes it easy. And here is like again, this is kind of I'm not being super precise right now. I'm just kind of blocking in the colors, and I'll go in later and be a little bit more precise to clean it up. Thank goodness it's only green.
So do you do the thing where you just fill it, you flat it first, and then on a layer, you put the shadow layer?
Yeah, I should take this rim and put it on a separate layer. Let me do that. Let me do the rim and put it on a different layer. That way, so I'm going to highlight this basketball rim.
Bernard, what would your basketball comic book be about?
It's already, we published the initial first few pages in the Secret Identities a few years ago.
Ooh.
And
it's always, it's hard when you have a sport and then you got to bring it into the comic book world. I think there's a part in Escape from LA, the movie, where in order to get past this roadblock of this neighborhood, he has to Snake Plissken, is that his name?
Snake Plissken.
He has to play a basketball game against this guy.
Oh yeah, and he's horrible. He has no basketball skills at all. Snake Plissken.
But yeah, it's just strange. Like, people love certain things like sports, and you have to try to work it into like a sci-fi story or something.
So right now I'm making the editorial decision of taking the basketball hoop in the net and copying it and pasting it on a new layer. So I'm keeping all the players on one layer. That way later on when I go into like special effects, I think it'll be an easier, I can do special effects underneath the rim without affecting it, or without affecting the basketball rim itself. So this is a little bit of a pre-prep kind of thing. And because of that, let me go in and try to just clean this up a little bit. So I'm spending a lot of time like just doing, prep work. This is not really. This is only going to make it easier for me later on to make revisions if I have to make revisions. I'm not even sure I have to make any revisions, but this piece might be so good that I don't have to do any revisions.
So, like you might want to make the net the hoop larger or smaller.
Yeah.
Or you can blur it out or something like that. Make it like an atmospheric perspective by blurring it, or
like putting a zoom blur or a speed line blur or whatever it is. And so this will make it easier for me to do that. And basically I'm just going to redraw whatever was underneath the hoop.
Even all the hatching you have to
I might be able to maybe clean it up a little bit. I mean, this is the difference of drawing it traditionally and then working on it digital versus if I just drawn this digitally to begin with, I would have probably already done this. I would have drawn it already on separate layers, the players and the hoop. So just cleaning stuff up, and then I might want to make the hoops bigger or smaller. I'll have to redraw some of these lines.
That's the elbow pad. Is that like something that you design?
No, this is like a hex pad.
Wow.
So it's available out there. You can go buy one. Because it's equipment, I'm referencing it. I want to be true to I'm not making this stuff up. Some of it is, but I want to have a little bit of authenticity to it. A lot of comic book artists, when they draw sports stuff, they don't really get the gear right. So when I'm looking at it, I'm like, that's the wrong gear. That's the wrong face mask. I do want to commend Sean. You drew something that was sports related recently, and it did have the proper equipment. I noticed little things like that.
Trace the photograph.
So if you're, just starting out, don't skip out on the referencing.
Bernard will find you.
I will find you, and I will do. Yeah, you lose a couple points in my book. I mean, it's not that much harder. It's just a little bit more time consuming. So if I can do it, you can do it too. It doesn't make for the greatest content, but
See, this is where the Courtney dancing, cutting to Courtney dancing.
Yeah, Courtney or Courtney's feet. Let's do a. We still have to do an episode where we're drawing Courtney's feet.
I was told I have quite nice feet, so.
I know, feet is something that a lot of comic book artists are not good at drawing. And in part, that's because we don't draw enough feet, You draw a lot of faces, you draw a lot of torsos, maybe some hands, but not a lot of feet. So if you don't draw it, you're not good at it. So we need to take maybe one of these streams and draw Courtney's feet.
Yeah, so everyone be back for that draw along.
I'll have make requests. Do you want Jello on the feet? Take tips.
Oh yeah, I don't think we won't be monetized on YouTube yet, but maybe we save it for the YouTube where you can get super chats.
Yes.
That way, for Courtney's feet, might get some.
They might crack down. Like on Twitch, there's a problem with too much boob action. I mean, not like people are only drawing big boobs, and I think they're trying to move away from that a little bit because it's harming the AdSense. So
yeah, literally, they're only drawing boobs on Twitch. I mean, yeah. I'm surprised anybody comes to the stream.
We're gonna switch to feet.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't help you in the boob department. I'm not really gifted there.
Well, Fletch might be able to.
Be able to.
I can help with the boot department.
Yeah.
I got some.
I mean,
some nice bees.
I like them. They're just smaller, but they're not bad.
I got some nice bees. A pluses.
Nah, I think he might be a little larger than mine.
Sean's got a big chest, but it's all muscle.
Sean does?
Sean has a big chest, but it's muscle because he used to bench press a lot.
Oh, he got the wide shoulders.
Also on YouTube, yes. So if you guys can also go and hit that YouTube link and hit the subscribe on YouTube, follow on Twitch, subscribe on YouTube.
And you'll be invited to the feet drawing.
Yeah,
stream.
I think. Look, once we get how many? We have to have 1,000 followers on 1,000 subscribers on YouTube, right? Then we can start monetizing, and then we'll start migrating towards YouTube. So
Yeah, don't come for the professional art. Come for the feet.
yeah, and then we're gonna do a foot.
Yeah. You're supposed to draw it, but I bet no one would have drawn it. But then our viewership is through the roof, but no one was drawing.
Yeah, what else can we do? Do you have like lotion, like oil? You know, like glistening feet. I'll make some Jello pudding. We'll be at pudding feet. Yeah.
That's fine.
I mean, because all of the look, it's all legit art. Because like in comics, when you're coloring comics, there's a super highlight, kind of like, super contrast highlight. And that's what, like, if you had oil on it, it would have that kind of glistening, almost latex. Yeah.
Yeah, and then the stomping on Jello thing.
That's a good reference for comics, for sure. Definitely used quite often.
Dr. Midnight will be one of my basketball comic book subscribers. So okay, let's go back to the coloring. I fixed that. Let's see the rim. Okay, let me delete the rim here. Go in and clean up the rim. The rim I also drew freehand, so the rim is not a perfect oval. So I don't know. I think I'll leave it like that. I like that it's not perfect.
Wow, so you have to clean that up too, or remove the shoe and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, but it's worth it because then you have an original to sell.
Right. And we were talking. The original art market has skyrocketed.
Yeah. And it's only gonna go up.
Did they ever sell Absolute Superman and Wonder Woman? Did they do the live auction on those books?
The new ones?
The Absolute Batman netted $323,500 for the entire book. So, look, for whatever, there's still money to be made.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, comics might become more expensive, but then you'll make up for with the super high-end collectors. Like Warner Brothers is selling the Batman Tumbler, right, for $2 million.
$3 million.
So you can buy $3 million. Yeah, you can buy it. And I think it's like an unlimited quantity, so you can just anyone who wants it can just buy one if you have that much money.
No, I think there's only 10,
is,
right? There's only 8 or 10 of them.
Well, okay, well maybe that's all you need for like $3 million a piece. So that's.
Yeah.
I think that market's going to be growing because of the amount of.
Because the rich are getting richer, and the poor are getting poorer.
And the poor is, those are the people who buy the comics. So I would say put out your original art, and then to make up for the lower sales of comics.
Sean, would you, if you had, look, I think if you had money to buy a $3 million car, and it's an operational tumbler, so they actually work. You can actually, would you want to spend $3 million on a tumbler, or I don't know, what else is a $3 million car?
I don't know, maybe feed an entire nation of children.
Or three $1 million cars. You know, 3 Rolls Royce Phantoms. I don't know what's a $1 million car.
That car is not street legal. Like D. Rogers just said that it'll drive, but you have to be in a private plot of land.
Well, you would probably have your own island by that time. So you could buy your own island or your own little community and just drive it around there. By the way, anybody watch the Tyson fight?
Oh, yeah, I think everyone watched that.
Sean, you watched the Tyson fight?
Yeah, I think the thing that was particularly interesting to me is, like, we always want to know the question of how much is age a factor? So there is, like, an old guy who used to be the best in the world fighting this new person who is pretty much untested. So, and we don't want to know that, especially I think we want to know that age isn't a huge factor. But it was, but I don't even know, because was this whole thing rigged?
I think
it's rigged.
Yeah,
he did it for money.
Yeah, there was some rigged component to it, because if you watch the pre-videos that led up to the fight before, where they show Mike Tyson training, I mean, there's some shots in there where he's pretty ferocious, but you didn't really see that. And then now or on social media you see all these clips of, like, conspiracies where, you know, Mike Tyson held back. And by the way, I was gonna say, like, I forgot about the P. Diddy thing. You know, when P. Diddy was on the news, I was gonna have a thing where to tell you my P. Diddy story, because I've actually met P. Diddy before. But it's kind of late for that one now. But I did meet Mike Tyson once too.
I can tell you my Mike Tyson story.
You had a Mike Tyson story?
I remember that. Yeah.
What was your Mike Tyson story, Courtney? We should have hyped this
Which one
up.
is yours? You tell first.
Me? I tell first? Well, San Diego Comic-Con, I think 2014, 2015.
Oh, recently. More recent.
Yeah, more recently. DC Warner Brothers had the rooftop pool party on a Friday or something after the convention. So he was there because he had a cartoon on HBO, right? It was kind of it was a pretty good cartoon. Yeah, Cartoon Network.
It was hilarious.
Right? It was a pretty good cartoon.
Mike Tyson Mysteries. Go watch it if you can.
Yeah.
It's hilarious.
So he was there. He was promoting that. Meanwhile, I'm in the men's room taking a leak. The door swings open. You know, I usually don't turn around to see who walks in. I don't know. Do you, Sean? I'm just minding my business, right?
I always make eye contact with anybody I'm in the bathroom with.
Yeah, but you leave your door open when you're on the toilet. So all of a sudden I feel this this rather larger than life presence next to me in the urinal right next to me, and I look over and it's Mike Tyson. And and he had a bodyguard behind him. And what was the first thought that would go through your head if you were in this situation, Sean?
Wait, is he using a urinal next to you?
Yes, yeah, he's in the. I'm 1 urinal. He's to my right.
Oh, you're gonna check out his dick.
Oh, that's right. That's like the you're like look over.
That's number 2. Okay.
That's number 2. What's the first?
Yeah, what's the first one, Sean?
I don't know. I know boxers, probably the number one thing that they ask for is a picture with them where you're both putting up your dudes.
Yeah, but I'm not. See, okay, yeah, I was thinking like, oh, I want a picture, but I'm taking a leak. I'm taking a piss with Mike Tyson. I'm not gonna ask him, while he's urinating. Hey, champ, can I get a pic? Right?
Yeah, that would be a great picture. What do you mean?
So. I didn't look.
You didn't?
No, I mean he's pretty stocky, so he's.
How do you know it was him next to you then? If you didn't
No, I mean I looked at his face.
Oh, look at the.
It's the peripheral vision. As a point guard, you gotta look in one direction, but you can see everything. So if I'm looking at the face already, I can already see his penis down here, without looking at it. I don't need to look directly at it.
All right.
And then, so we wash hands. He washed his hand. We go out, and then I was like, "Oh man, am I gonna hang out outside the men's room? Because I finished first, and then wait for a picture outside of the men's room. That's like uncouth. Is that a word?
It is a word, yeah. If you're using it right.
So I was like, okay, well, whatever. And then my ex-wife, my wife at the time, was there, and then we were walking down the hall, and then he's walking down the hall at the same time, and then she's like, oh, hey. I was like, hey, you want to get a picture with Mike? So he took a picture. She took a picture with him, like a selfie. I didn't get one. And then afterwards, she said, oh, he grabbed my ass. So
no way.
I don't know if she was joking or if she was like, because she was laughing about it. So
Oh.
yeah, but
I mean, probably not.
And then you flew into a rage, and then you went to hunt him down.
yeah, and then we got into a fight, and I realized that
You knocked him out cold.
So Courtney, what was your Mike Tyson?
I think I probably said this on this stream like a long time ago, but
It was years ago, yeah.
it was years ago now.
Was it how many months ago would that would D. Rogers at 48 months, would he have heard this already?
Probably
Would, James
50
Crow,
something
James
months.
Crow at 38 months, would he have heard this?
Possibly.
Possibly.
That was like maybe 3 years ago now. I've been on the stream for 3 years. That's weird.
Really?
Anyways, yeah, because I popped on the stream basically the same time I met Will, my boyfriend,
Oh,
and that was almost 3 years ago.
okay.
So yeah, that's crazy. So I was in Vegas, and at that time, I was a go-go dancer in San Diego. But one of our friends, you just have people in the industry. One of our friends was DJing at a pool party in Vegas, so we all went to Vegas, and it was like one of the big ones. But we were kind of near the DJ booth in the VIP area, and he was sitting alone at like a table, and one of the guys in the group was like, "Oh shit, it's Mike Tyson." This is before like The Hangover and everything. I mean, he was like a retired boxer at the time, and he was living in Las Vegas, but he wasn't really doing anything.
Yeah.
And so he's like, "I want to get my picture taken with him." And I think I was like 20, in my early 20s at the time. So like 20 years ago now. And so I was like, yeah, I want to get my picture taken with him too. And this is like on one of those small like tiny shitty cameras. So we take our picture together with me and this guy who I didn't really know, and then so I turned to him, and I probably had like a little to drink, and I was having a good time, and then I was always a very ballsy person, I guess, and then I was like, hey, can I take my picture with you? But this time, can you pretend you're biting my ear?
Oh.
And then he just looked at me, and I mean, I could have been like, yeah, I mean, he was arrested before for like hitting women.
Yeah.
And he was in jail, and which I did not know. And he just looked at me, and then he kind of like was like, nah, like that's all he said, and just shook his head no, and was kind of like, no, bro, like, and I was like, oh, but if I did get a picture like that, that would be a epic picture. That would be, I mean, a really good picture. And I mean, later in his show, he did joke about biting someone's ear, so he had a sense of humor about it. But I wouldn't recommend doing that to anybody. Or, yeah, especially Mike Tyson. So, and that's my story about Mike Tyson.
Wow.
And then, Blues Boy asked, "Is that the same party you met or saw Shaq?" No, that wasn't. But that was a different Las Vegas party.
Yeah, I was thinking about Shaq, but okay.
Yeah, that was my girlfriend's bachelorette party, and we knew like one of the GMs at Shaq's club, and I didn't know it was Shaq's club. And then I wandered into his VIP booth, and I was hanging out with him and his wife. And I'm still trying to find that picture because this was like back in like MySpace days. And
Well, I think
and
your MySpace account should be still up.
I remember I deleted it, so I don't know. I don't think it is. But I still thought I had a picture because I have a picture of. I remember it like clear as day. It's like Shaq's in the back. He's not looking at the camera, but I'm really taking a picture with his wife and then my girlfriend, who is it was her bachelorette party. So
Is this okay?
Good times. But him and his wife were very nice. I liked his ex-wife.
Sean, do you have a Mike Tyson story?
I do now.
Does anybody in
Did you know
chat have a Mike Tyson story?
I don't know how long he spent in jail, but he's not very good at managing his money because I heard that he's bought over 100 cars. Yeah.
Well, he had a tiger. He had a tiger at one point.
It's just, what the hell? So I guess his payday for this last fight was like 20 million?
20 mil. Yeah. Set him up for the rest of his life.
Yeah, he had to pull his punches.
20 mil is really like, that's generational wealth.
Not for him. It'll go by quickly. Rich people spend money like way different.
Well,
There's a lot of people who like win the lottery go broke.
I think at his height he had close to 700 million. Yeah, and then lost it all. I mean, 100 cars, and at least one of them was a Rolls Royce because I saw pictures of it. And then there was time in jail, and then it's quite a life.
Quite a life. On one hand, you know, if you had that kind of money and you didn't spend it, I would also be like, well, did you really live?
That's true.
I mean, maybe not blow all of it, but, you know, still have half of it.
I was hoping I hate that guy he fought. What's his name? Jake Ryan or something like that?
Jake Paul?
That guy's
Jake Paul.
Whatever. Yeah, some white boy. So annoying.
But I mean, there's also another interesting guy because everyone seems to have like one area of core competency. Like, you know, we draw comics, and that's our thing. Jake Paul has been successful at maybe 3 different things. I mean, success kind of leads to another thing of success, but he started out as a guy who just made videos on Vine, and then he moved to wherever YouTube, and he was mostly like an influencer, and then did some acting, and then he's a boxer, so he's done different things.
I mean, wasn't he like he's kind of a scummy guy. Like, he doesn't make like really. I mean, there's influencers that make actual like interesting and intriguing or funny, like comedians who start off like on YouTube, or you know, and then they get into like SNL after. But I mean, I don't know. He kind of had all these followers that were kind of just kind of trashy little boys that wanted to imitate him and wanted his lifestyle.
It is a form of success. And I think a lot of us are trying to find success in one area, and then he was able to do like 3 different, reinvent himself a few times, and then there's a lot of money that he has now. I mean, he made, what was it, $40 million for this fight? So
yeah, but I don't know. Is anybody a follower of him on this chat? I mean, I wouldn't think so.
They're all kids, boys, and I think one of the things that people like about him is the same reason why Trump won the president. He doesn't believe in education, and he's a kind of a normal guy who's winning by just doing stupid shit, which is it's our dream as guys to do that.
I mean, he was one of the first to be like, I do stupid shit, and now I drive expensive cars, and it's kind of like the talk to a girl, or whatever. You have your moment of fame, and then you're gonna take advantage of it. Didn't he? I forget. He got canceled a bunch of times, I guess. But it's like his followers are just young boys, and this isn't the greatest of influence like that these kids could have. Like, I don't know enough about him.
He's a great
I just don't
marketer.
like him.
He's a great marketer.
Yeah.
Right? In terms of his success, really is to be able to. I mean, he's not a boxer,
He's calling himself like the boxer or something. He's like, I am reinventing boxing or something.
No, well, he has. I mean, in some ways, he has look, boxing is a sport is nowhere near as popular was when Mike Tyson was actually in his prime, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And the popularity that Mike had around the sport was just enthralling. Or Muhammad Ali. It was one of the quintessential sports. The one thing that got me was as I was watching the fight is this a sign of the times? In that, as a society, we've kind of, the popularity of like boxing has declined over the years. But things like MMA have UFC has risen in popularity, but still not like super popular. And then also wrestling, right? And wrestling certainly has seen its time. I don't think it's as hot as it was at some point.
MMA is pretty popular though.
But yeah, so MMA, UFC, and now with this form of boxing, right, where it's. I mean, the women's fight that was before the
I heard that was crazy.
Oh, that like her eyelid
Really
was
cool.
like she was cut right here in the eyebrow, right underneath the eyebrow, right here, literally like an inch or so, and the skin was flapped over. So during during the break between the rounds, they were trying to like stop the bleeding, and they did a close up where you could see the skin had basically fallen down, and you can see her skull underneath. If you look closer, you saw her skull because there was a layer of skin and fat, and then there was another white area underneath, and it was a cavity, and that was a skull. That was her actual skull. And I just thought, like at that moment, it's like, wow, okay, we're back into this kind of gruesome, almost gladiator-like sport or cheering, or audience, with with the rise of MMA or UFC, and I'm assuming wrestling is probably going to see another little bit of a spike with its move to Netflix next year. This brutality in sport, is this another sign of the shift in societal entertainment? And what goes on in the back of my head when I think about this is like, well, you look at the Roman times, where they had gladiators and they had these death matches and people were calling for all this kind of real gruesome kind of sport. And as a society, we've now over the last 20, 30 years moved to like, okay, you're throwing a ball into a net as a sport, as a competition of manhood, or just of competition, of just winning. And now is there going to be this drive back to, beating up another human being as sport, right? Where you're actually physically imposing where the eyelid is coming down and you see the skull, and is there something else where you're just physically beating up another human as sport, as opposed to throwing a ball into a hoop or hitting a ball with a stick, or football is still somewhat brutal, but football is not as brutal as UFC or boxing or even wrestling, in a sense, even though wrestling is prescripted. Wrestling, football, I would say the argument with football is that they're all wearing pads and helmets, and you don't really see the faces. So they're kind of unidentifiable, per se, more like robots and avatars out there playing. Whereas the brutality of a boxing or wrestling or UFC, where you see the human flesh being pounded, you see the blood, and the blood is the key. Is that the blood is accepted and is cheered on. So, case in point, again, Courtney, if you watch, I'll ask you to watch the women's fight on Netflix, and you can hear the crowd is cheering as they're just pounding each other, and the blood is just everywhere, and her eyelids just falling off. I'm wondering at one point, is the eyelid going to go down where her eyeball actually comes out?
Oh, God.
And are we just going to see a continued rise in that aspect of entertainment, sports?
I don't know. I feel like it's kind of always been there. I went to go see a fight recently, like an MMA or something like that. It was one of what was her name? Actually, I met her at the comic convention, but she's a fighter, and yeah, the main fight was pretty crazy. But they had like rules and regulations too, and it's it's not fight. It'll never be like a fight to the death, but people have died before in the ring. So I don't know. I don't know if it's necessarily on the rise. I think they want to see they rather see two famous people beat each other up, like just for entertainment. So maybe we'll get like Kim Kardashian in there. That'd be awesome. I want to see her get beat up. Just go for it. That's cool.
Yeah, it's a strategy to get that brow to bleed, because I think that if you hit it and it starts to bruise up and you hit it enough, then it bleeds and then it goes into the eye, and that gives you a tremendous advantage. So it is actually one of those strategies you learned in boxing school.
I heard she got headbutt, like she was headbutted.
Yeah, so they all had their hair in braids, right? So there's like these rows of braids, and so the Irish Katie fighter, she would lean in with her head, right, and like brush up against, and it would be the same size. She would always lean in on her, her right side or left side. I forgot which one it was. Left side, I think maybe. And so she would throughout the whole match, she would lean her head in, and then get into a tussle. And part of that leaning in, and I think with the hair and also with the head, that initially caused the cut, and then that just aggravated it throughout the fight. That she kept leaning in, and the cut kept reopening and getting bigger and bigger as the fight was going, and blood was just gushing out, and it was.
Well, what I don't understand is when in between, in order to stop the bleeding, they decided to bring out a mini iron.
Oh no, that thing is a cold press. So like the metal thing, I think, is a cold compression. So it's
if you bleed it, no. So sorry, if you burn it, you it's called it begins with a C.
Cauterizing.
Yeah, cauterizing the wounds. Yeah, so it is a method. I learned I was on the sidelines for my college major to assist with any sports injuries. Like that's what you learn. So but yeah, that's
when you go to a doctor's office, they never bring out the iron and iron your wound shut, right? That's only
it's definitely for an emergency. It's definitely because they're not gonna sew it up. You're just it's gonna be torn open again, and so that's kind of the best way to do it. to stop the bleeding too. So, I mean, I don't know if there's necessarily a rise in those sports. I think if anything, there's a rise in esports.
Well, there is.
Probably less legal.
But I mean, esports. But again, I mean, esports is nothing like this. This is like.
Yeah, exactly.
This is you're literally trying to beat up the other person and knock them into some kind of submission.
When you see like in every block now in the major cities, there's martial arts classes for kids.
Yeah.
And they're opening like on every block. Like there's just competing dojos. And it's so popular. It's like the number one after school activity now.
Well, is that because of Karate Kid?
Yeah,
probably.
Cobra Kai?
Yeah.
But that happened when Karate Kid came out in the first place, too. So.
Yeah, my freaking son is caught up in that stuff.
Yeah. Well, it's a good. I mean, hopefully they'll teach him some self-discipline, some more good work habits. See. Well, I think we're gonna head out. It's almost midnight. Yeah. So Jake and Logan Paul were. So he says they're Jews. I mean, I know Logan Paul was the older brother, the taller guy, and he was in Japan a few years ago at the Mount Fuji forest and making fun of the.
You can't use the word.
Suicide. Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
My bad.
Huh?
Yeah, nothing. Can't use those words. You'll be demonetized or something. You'll be unalived. That's what they say.
Unalived. So yeah, he was. That was his controversy a few years ago. He was doing a lot of crazy YouTube stuff. Which, like, now, like, that's the precursor to, like, this guy, Johnny Somali, who, I don't know if you heard.
That guy's, I think he got arrested, though.
Well, he got arrested, but he's free right now in Korea. They took away his passport. But he's stuck in Korea. But he's still continuing his antics. And, yeah, that guy's extremely annoying.
That guy's the worst. But the thing is, he does it because people watch him.
Well,
like, that's the problem.
And people pay him. People pay him.
It's so crazy.
So, Sean, like, or does anybody here have a teenager in chat? Or is there a teenager watching? I mean, Carson McKinney, I think, is the youngest guy in chat. But what are their thoughts on, like, a Johnny Somali?
I don't know. I know Travis watches him for sure, but I don't know. I've never seen
him. You think he does?
Yeah, he's got that computer going all day long. It's impossible to get him to put it down. So he'll when he goes up to get a drink, he'll take his laptop with him to the refrigerator, so he doesn't stop watching the computer ever.
Yeah, and I think so there's he's on Kick, he's on these other platforms that are like Twitch derivatives, IRL in real life streaming. Yeah, Ishmael I think is his name. So supposedly he got into this similar kind of issues in Japan. Japan had him in kind of a holding cell for a little bit, but then let him out, kicked him out for 5 years. Went to Korea. Now he's doing the same thing in Korea. Even worse if you want to, kind of get into it. Do you know, Sean? Do you know what this guy's at?
The only good thing is people like have been giving him what you would call like
street justice.
Street justice. So
there's a lot of IRL streamers in Korea, and they're all chasing after him.
I mean, good for them. I mean, I'll support that.
So, anyways, all right. Who should we raid? Basically, only be able to be able to get through. I haven't even finished the flats yet because we're talking. Typically, I think flatting this without any kind of distractions from chatting or looking up stuff on the internet, you should be able to flat this in under an hour. I think the economics of flatting, you're not going to get paid a lot of money flatting. Most of the flatting is being done overseas. There's really almost no. I mean, I think there are, oh, actually, in Procreate, you have this option to use reference, and then from reference you can go into and then kind of just. How come nobody said this earlier? I completely forgot about it. You can go into your files and just basically drag and drop paint can on large sections of the work, and you can get through this fairly quickly.
I think it depends on what kind of art you do or how, like whenever I try to do that, it doesn't work because a lot of my lines don't connect. Like I don't have the, I'll have my full page just turn to red.
Yeah, you do need that. Like, it does need to be in closed lines. So.
Yeah, which most of the time it's not. So, but I think reference still works kind of sometimes if you want to just keep certain colors. I kind of forget.
Well, larger areas like here, I can go into this and gotta select the color for Nightwing. Kind of quickly do this. Alright, so let's get out of here. Who should we raid? Yojimbo, thank you so much for moderating today.
Julian TRS is what James Quo suggests.
James Quo, Julian TRS. Okay. Overall, so you got a flat. Then after flatting this, I'm going to have to spend about another hour or so doing the shadows and renderings. I'll quickly do a quick shadow rendering. I got to go pick up redhead. So usually shadow rendering, I use like a tan color. Create a layer on top. The layer will be multiply. And then you can use, so you, do the clipping mask.
And color for skin or for everything?
Everything.
A tan color will turn any color to a shadow.
Well, it'll be a mix of the tan. It depends on, again. So if I would do the face, where this situation is, color wheel wise, I'm assuming this is going to be, I want a warm feeling, but if I want a cool feeling, then if I use a blue, let's say I use a light blue, you'll get a different, you see the light blue has a different effect on the skin color. Because it's mixing with, it's basically blending whatever color you're using with the colors underneath. And it's a more natural, realistic shadow. A lot of people think, oh, you got to use like black. But I prefer to use different other colors. Because very rarely will you have a pure black shadow. But you see how, you can see in the lighter colors how the different, if I'm using blue, it has a much cooler effect, right? guys see that?
Mm.
All right.
Yeah, I did not know about the universal shadow color.
I think purple. Purple's a nice one for skin shadows. And
Well, I mean, again, you see how the blue, when it's overlapping the skin and the uniform, I'm going to give one team lighter uniforms and another team darker uniforms, just to indicate this is almost like an all-star game. I'm quickly going in. Now, if I wanted to change the color, I can go into color hue. If I want to use a purple, whoops, because that's reference still. That's what the purple would look like, depending on the intensity of the purple. And then there's also, well, let's punch it down a little bit. You can tone down the opacity, so it gives you a nicer. So, did you learn anything new today?
yes, teacher.
Hell yeah.
All right. I don't like the purple. It looks a little too neon-y. I might want to use the purple for a
It's
bit
looking
more.
pretty bright.
Right? So,
I kind of go with like a lighter, almost grayish purple, and that kind of. But I like it in the blue that you had it.
yes, I think I'll stick with the blue. It also depends on what the background color is going to be, what the court color is. Oops. The court color is going to be a blue, darker, more intense. I gotta figure that out. All right, guys, let's raid Julian TRS. Thank you for watching. Thank you for the subs. Thank you for the raid. Try to be back again next week. Hopefully next week we'll get Mark Moretti here, talk about some storyboards.
Oh yeah, that'd be nice.
Anything else? Let's raid Julian TRS. What is Julian TRS doing? And then maybe we'll do some sparring. A little bit of sparring. I don't know. We'll see.
I thought we were doing feet stuff.
Oh, well, that's when we move to the... We got to tease a little bit of the feet stuff.
Oh, okay.
And then when we go to YouTube, that's when we do it.
So Fight Club first, or?
Fight Club, Hollywood Storyboards,
Okay.
And feet.
and then feet.
Okay.
We'll do like a little feet, but we'll only do pictures, and then we'll do when we migrate over, it'll be the live feet. See your toes. That's when Sean's gonna get a camera and draw for us on stream.
He's gonna go for the feet.
Yeah, but I think Sean's more into the smell of the feet.
And people in chat can send in what you would want her to step into.
Right. For money, of course.
I'm actually quite okay with that.
Okay.
No live animals. That's not that type. Not this type of story.
No. We don't get into
Whatever.
food-related things.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Any last words before we get out of here?
Almond tofu.
Any last words before we get out of here, guys?
Big Apple Comic Con this weekend.
Big Apple Comic Con, okay?
Big Apple Comic Con this weekend. I won't be there, but
Okay. All right. See you guys. Have a great week. Stay safe.
Happy holidays.
Happy holidays.
Happy holidays.
Damn, it is the holidays.
Next week is Thanksgiving week, huh? Oh, shit. Kind of good.
Yeah.
Did we raid?
Yes.